Hello, SMPS volunteers, and welcome to today's virtual roundtable for SMPS Regional Conference Planners. This program will be recorded and made available on the SMPS YouTube Volunteer Training channel, as well as the library of the All Chapter Leaders community in My SMPS. I'm Julio Santos, SMPS Chapter Services and Membership Coordinator. Now, before we start, all lines are muted. We encourage questions and sharing of great ideas. So if you have a comment or question, you may type your question in the question text box located on the bottom right of your screen, or I'm sorry, on the right of your screen, and we'll take questions as we go or at the end of the program. Natalie and I will be on the lookout. Natalie, are we ready to get started?
We are. Thank you, Julio. Hi, everyone. This is Natalie Gozzard. I'm SMPS's Chapter Services Manager, and I'm also the staff representative for all of our regional conferences. I'm lucky enough to be joined today by our Chief Executive Officer, Michael Geary, and our Controller, Antonio Payne. On behalf of the SMPS Board and the entire staff here at headquarters, I do want to extend a very big thank you, especially to those of you who have participated and volunteered your time previously with the regional conference or conferences. And I'd like to extend a big welcome to those of you new to volunteering. Our regionals do bring tremendous value to our members, our chapters, and of course, society overall. And we recognize the time commitment and work that you all put into these successful conferences. So thank you. And please know that the headquarters staff will be here for you throughout the planning and the execution of all your conferences. And we do look forward also to attending your conferences. So we're here today to share the resources available to you all as planners, and of course, answer any questions that you might have. I'm going to share how headquarters supports all of the regionals, and I'll provide a brief overview of the regional conference agreements that all regionals execute with their participating chapters. Antonio is going to provide some tips and best practices pertaining to your conference financials. And I'm going to share a few best practices for succession planning and some directions on your conference branding. We'll then wrap up this program by providing opportunities for your questions. Now, if there's something in particular that you'd like to hear about or discuss, please do feel free at any time during today's program to ask. Julio, feel free to interject me if you see a timely question come in. And remember, folks, you can submit your questions via the chat button within that toolbar on your screen, and we'll answer or unmute you for discussion. So before I go any further, I'd like to invite Michael to share how SMPS regional conferences relate to the society overall. Michael?
Thank you, Natalie. Hi, good afternoon and good morning for those of you on the West Coast and out in Hawaii. I don't know if we have an Hawaiian or Alaskan representative with us today, but good morning to you. My job today on the conference is to reinforce a vision of the organization, and that is to think about the role that regional conferences play in the greater efforts of SMPS. And while we don't have an official tagline of one SMPS, that's the way that we'd like for everyone to think about all the things that happen within the organization, the chapter events, build business, the webinars, and the regional conferences as well, that we're one organization and that collectively we support our members and we support the profession of marketing in professional services. You know, a significant number of members attend regional conferences, and it's our only opportunity to have an interaction with them beyond their individual chapters. So think about that as you're working on finalizing your programs, your activities, the networking activities that occur at the regional conferences, that this is it is an important opportunity to remember that we are going to be interacting with members in ways that they wouldn't have otherwise. So how do we promote SMPS to them to support their chapter membership? How do we promote the vision of the organization? How do we make sure that they walk away let's make sure when they walk away from a regional conference, they have a good opinion and feeling about the organization that they'll bring back to their chapters. You may know the vision of SMPS is business transformed through marketing leadership. 5 simple words. And so as you finalize, again, the messaging, the program, and activities, think about those 5 words: business transformed and marketing leadership. Okay, those 4 words: business transformed and marketing leadership. Are we talking about leadership? Are we talking about transforming businesses? So we ensure that the vision of the organization is weaved through all of our regional conferences as well. And then lastly, I want to share with you, and I talked about this in the summer, is that we are right now in the beginning stages of a branding initiative. That is, we're going to refresh the brand platform for SMPS, and that includes chapters or regional conferences, everything that we do under the umbrella of SMPS and the foundation. We're just getting started. Nothing's going to change for now. Well, won't change for the regional conference that take place this spring. But I just want to give you a heads up as you're starting to think about conferences in 2019, that there will be a new brand platform. How we talk about the organization, perhaps some graphic changes, some visual presentations may change. We're just in the initial stages right now, so I don't have anything specific to share because we don't know what those things look like yet. But I want to just give you a reminder and a heads up that nothing much will change, if anything, for 2018, other than we want to continue to push the vision of transforming businesses and marketing leadership. And really for 19, we'll have something more succinct to share, and we'll provide resources to you to make sure that we're all on board and we're working under the one SMPS umbrella. So thank you finally for all of your support. I know you're volunteering your time. You put on amazing events, and I will be at every regional conference this year, and I can't wait to see you next winter and in the spring. Natalie, back to you.
Great, thanks, Michael. Julio, while Michael was sharing, any questions pop up?
No, nothing so far.
Okay, great, and we will move right along. So we have 5 regional conferences taking place in 2018, with 2 that currently occur every other year. So we have 7 overall. The 2 that are not listed here are SMPS Heartland Regional and SMPS Missouri Valley Regional. Now, these 2 conferences typically take place every other year, so they'll take place in 2019, with HRC being in Detroit and MVRC is going to be in Kansas City. SMPS headquarters supports regionals in several ways. We actually have a document that details the ways in which we support you. And this is the document that I'm showing on the screen. I encourage you to review the document closely and share this with your regional team to ensure that you're taking full advantage of everything that we can offer. You have, number 1, staff support. Now, for me, as staff representative to all the regionals, I'm attending along with Mike. Mike's attending all regionals, but I'm attending almost all committee calls, and I'm advising, sharing best practices, and connecting regional committees with the resources and headquarters staff resources. The other staff resources you have, for example, our events director and events and education director, Dan Riley. He has reviewed and provided comments on hotel contracts for almost all regionals, in addition to providing guidance for venue logistics and speaker lists for review. He gets those from the Society's annual conference, Build Business. And I know Antonio has connected with regional committee treasurers. He's answered questions on budgeting and insurance. And our marketing team here at headquarters has full-page marketing ads running in the Next Marketer magazine for 2 conferences coming up in October. We have, in addition to the support doc, we have a marketing support document. I'll pull that over. Okay. SMPS can provide a complimentary half or full color page ad in the Marketer, our bi-monthly magazine. We can provide complimentary banner ad in our weekly e-newsletter, Marketer Quick Look. We can do an email blast to members of the participating chapters to promote regional conferences. And we can also conduct a 1-2-day call campaign to members and prospects, to everyone in the participating chapters, to help increase attendance at your regional. And we do list all the regional conferences on the SMPS events calendar, and we include links to the conferences on our website. So it's a team effort here at headquarters, and we're always here to assist and guide you. Staff who attend regionals are always available and willing to lend a hand while on site. Stuffing bags, assisting at the registration desk, assisting room monitors, etc. And you'll always see us chatting with members and thanking the sponsors, of course. So Michael, as he said, plans to attend all regionals in 2018. And Michael is typically extended an invite from each regional to address the attendees at the start of a conference so that he can connect with members and non-members throughout the conference on all things SMPS. And one of the truly wonderful benefits of having your society CEO and staff members in attendance is our ability to promote and connect the society overall with chapter members and potential chapter members. So after all, you know, we've said it before and it bears repeating, we really do like to think of SMPS memberships as a 2-for-1 deal, offering you all a connection to a fantastic chapter as well as a connection to almost 7,000 society members overall. So in addition to staff support, we are conference sponsors. We are sponsoring every conference with a check for $1,000. Additionally, we provide giveaways to be used as prize drawings. So we donate a Build Business Conference registration, an SMPS membership that's good for a new membership or a renewal. We'll donate a webinar and a Markendium set. Now, these giveaways are valued at approximately just over $1,800. So another way we provide assistance is we provide you the regional conference planners community in My SMPS, and we populate it with many, many resources and samples. I'm going to pop over to this community right now so I can show it to you. Hopefully, folks who are on the call, you are familiar, especially those who are on the call who are chairs, you're familiar with this community. This is a community you can join to access all the resources that we discussed today. So in the library of your community, as you can see, we have populated it with insurance information, finance information. We have past webinars for planners. This is where this one, a little tongue-tied, will be located in addition to your YouTube channel. We have all the post-conference reports. These are wrap-up reports. So you can take a look at how the other conferences did last year and what their approach was to the conference. And you can take a look at their financials. This is where you can find all the logos for all the regional conferences. The 2 documents, the marketing support and the staff support documents that I just referenced are here. There are some branding guidelines in here. And this is a folder I really wanted to point out because I get some requests. I've had some requests for speakers. And in this folder, I've populated with the speakers who we didn't select for Build Business for the last couple years. I've also have the Build Business program guides in here, chapter education reports, great place to find speakers in addition to programming. And remember, just because folks were not selected as speakers, it's just because it doesn't mean that they're any less than the speakers who were chosen. It's just that we have so many people that do want to speak, and we can't take everybody. So it's a good place to find some speakers. Within here, you'll also find the toolkit for regional conference planners. This is a great resource for you in here. This is the guidebook. It's called the Black Book, and it's an extremely handy document. It serves as a reference tool, and it provides you directions, examples, and best practices to guide your conference. So don't forget, SMPS staff members are available to assist and discuss any areas in which you have questions. And we're currently updating this document to a more condensed, precise version. So I'll be honest with you, it's a little outdated at this time, but we're in the process of updating it, and there is still a lot of really good information in there. So bear with us. We're hopeful to have the new toolkit come out prior to the end of the year. And the section of this current guidebook, or Black Book, it provides examples and covers the following, such as committee structure, the model agreement is in there, insurance coverage, budget, programs, venue. There's a section on sponsorship and communications and marketing. There are also a lot of samples in there. And there are more sample documents which are a little bit more updated within this community in the folders that you're looking at right now. So Southern Regional Conference was kind enough to share their conference handbook, and I've saved that for you within this community as well. So this is a really great resource for you to start with. Just take a look at how SRC is doing things. Okay, let's go back to our slides. Okay. Another form of support that you're going to receive from us is the chapter leadership workshop. So for every conference now, every regional, for many years now, we've offered an event specifically geared toward chapter leaders. And I work with the conference chairs to get it on the conference schedule. The workshop typically takes place for 2 hours prior to conference kickoff. And all chapter volunteers are invited to attend and connect with one another. And the society staff is there, the board members are there, and for 2018, we're really going to up our game. So in addition to providing an opportunity for folks to connect and receive leadership training, we're going to share and celebrate a few chapter best practices from the participating chapters, folks who are in the room, and then we're going to tackle a few challenges while we're all together. So more to come on how we plan to really evolve this workshop, but I'll tell you what, it's really going to be a not-to-miss event for you and your fellow chapter volunteers. So here's a very gracious thank you in advance for providing headquarters and the board an opportunity to connect with chapters at your regional. Now, to receive the support from us that I've just been sharing, we do ask the following from each conference committee, from each conference. First, that SMPS regional conferences are always branded as such, SMPS regional conferences, with SMPS, the acronym or society spelled out, but with SMPS referenced everywhere the regional is referenced. And we also ask that the appropriate conference logo is used. So more to come on that in a bit. Second, we ask that each conference executes a signed agreement, having all participating chapters sign. When I say participating chapters, for example, as Southwest Regional has 4 chapters, so those are the participating chapters of the Southwest Regional Conference. We ask that this contract, this agreement, be reviewed by all participating chapter presidents or another designee, such as the president-elect. We ask that it's signed and returned to headquarters prior to your regional. And this really is very best practice that provides for mutual agreement and transparency for all participating chapters. I'll address this too on the next slide. Third, we ask that all regionals schedule that awesome 2-hour chapter leadership workshop I mentioned previously. And lastly, we request a post-conference report to include a finance report. Antonio will speak to this shortly. And this report really should be submitted to us here at headquarters 90 to 120 days following the conclusion of your regional. And these wrap-up reports, we get one from each conference. They're saved within your MySMPS community for archival purposes, and also to be made that it makes them available to all of you as planners to review. So if your wrap-up report contains something confidential in nature, you can just let me know and I can edit it prior to posting it on the site. Also, I'll typically request a non-member attendee list from your team as your conference nears so that we can reach out and connect with all non-members while at your conference. Now, regarding the participating chapters of your conference executing an agreement, a model agreement exists for you to use as a template, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Back in 2009-10, I think it was 2009, SMPS headquarters formed a task force to review regionals and how they're organized and supported by chapters. And the goal of the task force was to really help ensure that no chapters or volunteers are exposed to financial nor legal liabilities in the event that a conference suffers financially or due to another mishap. So the agreement serves to document the relationship between participating chapters, volunteers, and headquarters. I had to read my notes just so I could remember that. It's very important. But frankly, really the agreement serves the purpose of transparency for all involved. It details the responsibilities for each participating chapter. And this said, the model agreement really is, it's a template with highly suggested language from headquarters in yellow. And yes, you can read into that highly suggested yellow language means strongly suggested. And strongly suggested because these are very best practices that headquarters has seen based on past regionals that were successful. So keep in mind, if the yellow suggested language doesn't describe how your conference is structured, we'll work with you to draft appropriate language that details your structure. One area, for example, is within the agreement, it's a recommendation for conferences to have steering committees or advisors, with their role being to represent all chapters. These are the folks that are really, have the responsibility of the checks and balances for the conference. They're not actually involved in the running, the day-to-day operations of the conference, but they're there with the responsibility being the overarching kind of last say. I know each conference currently has a steering committee, but the makeup for each it varies. So one conference may place their chapter presidents-elect on the committee, as they'll be the presidents when the conference takes place. Another conference notes that their presidents will fulfill this role while yet Another has added an advisor role or roles to assist with the steering committee. So regardless of how your conference committees are structured, it's vital that your conference agreement provides transparency for all and should serve the needs and interests for all participating chapters. Now I see we have Pam Odine from our Chicago chapter on the call today. Pam is a valued longtime member and a leader of SMPS Chicago. She's past president of Chicago, and she's past chair of the Heartland Regional Conference, the wildly successful one in 2015 when it was in Chicago. And I actually participated on HRC's committee call this morning. Pam is one of the advisors for HRC. In this role, she brings that historical knowledge of HRC, and she can share the best practices and lessons learned with the current steering committee. So Pam, I'm going to unmute you. And would you please share a little bit more about your current role with HRC?
Absolutely, thank you. As Natalie said, I am a past president of the Chicago chapter, and then in 2015, myself and Leanne Dawkins chaired the HRC that was held in Chicago, and it was a very successful. We ended up with over 300 attendees at that actual regional. But in my role now, what I do is I am actually the chair of the steering committee for HRC, and the steering committee consists, within our region, it consists of the presidents of the chapter, and they're the ones that will control, they set the timeline, they set the date, the location, and everything filters through the steering committee. And I am kind of, as Natalie said, I help guide that. I do not have a vote in anything, but I do help guide for best practices. We've created a couple different task force to make sure that we're continuously growing as a conference, and lessons learned, what went well, what didn't, so that we can improve each year. And I spearhead that throughout the next 2 years. And then after that, what happens is we do elect someone. The next steering committee is usually one of the past chairs from one of the successful conferences. That's the way we can keep it moving forward. And everyone is very excited about it. You see what happens, what doesn't work. But we have monthly calls on our steering committee. And so it's the last Thursday, I'm sorry, of every month. We have a call all the way up until the actual conference. And the co-chairs for that conference have to be on the call because they're reporting up what is happening with the conference. And that way they're reporting to the steering committee. If there's any decisions that need to be made, for example, hotel location, the date, the budget, they're answering to the steering committee. And then the steering committee has the information that they can then take back to their board. And so with that, I am kind of the hub of everything with the steering committee, and then we report out so that we are trying to make sure our conference is extremely transparent and that everyone has the information they need. If there's a question, the chapters know exactly who to go to if they have questions with anything. For example, right now, we have new processes that we're trying to put in place. And so they'll filter all the questions to me so that I can get them out and make sure everyone can vote on it, and then we put it inside our contract.
Great, very thoughtful approach, Pam.
Thank you.
Well, we have Pam on the line. Do we have any questions for Pam?
Hi, I'm sorry. No, there are no questions at the moment.
Okay. Well, Pam, thank you so much for sharing, and thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. And anyone, feel free to contact me if you have any questions.
Thank you. Well, let's go on to logos. So every conference has a logo, and the logos that I'm sharing on the screen now are, of course, available within your My SMPS Regional Conferences Planner community. Also, any staff member can send them to you if you need them. These are examples of team logos that include every chapter, and standard logos. So logos are available in black and blue with reversed white images as well. Really, we have logos in every format. And like I said, you can get them within your My SMPS community. It's very important to note that several conferences have themes or taglines associated with their conferences, and that's absolutely fine. It's fine to reference a conference using the conference's nickname, such as the Wave for PRC or Sunbuilt for SERC. However, please note that the official conference logos are a requirement for all websites, all printed materials, all programs, etc. The tagline or theme may be used in conjunction with the logo, such as the Merge theme this year with NERC, but the official logo is required to be used along with the official conference name, such as SMPS Northeast Regional Conference or SMPS Heartland Regional Conference, so that the SMPS brand is easily recognizable. The SMPS or conference logo really does need to be at the top of all home pages of conference websites and subsequent pages on the web. And SMPS, again, is to be used with any and every reference to a regional. For example, the 2018 SMPS Southern Regional Conference. Here are two really great examples of appropriate branding from the upcoming PRC and NERC. They're great use of the conference and the SMPS logos for branding purposes. Taking a look at these, it's very easy to recognize that these are indeed SMPS regional conferences. Okay, Antonio, are you ready to walk us through a few details and best practices on the financial aspects of regionals?
Absolutely. Thank you, Natalie. I will run through very quickly the three types of insurance that we encourage you guys to secure. The first is general liability insurance, and that is already secured on your behalf. The Society General Liability Policy covers basic activities and meetings of the regional conferences. This includes what's called a host liquor license. That means, yes, indeed, alcohol may be served at your event, provided you hire a professional vendor to serve, or you use bartending services of the host facility. Usually that's a hotel or a restaurant. There are certain activities that fall outside the normal scope of a chapter activity, and they require a separate policy above and beyond the general liability policy, which is secured on your behalf by a headquarters. These activities include, but are not limited to, athletic events, water-related activities, biking events, and construction activities like hard hat tours. A special events policy can be obtained to cover these activities at varying degrees of cost based on the inherent risk of the activity and the number of participants. The last type of insurance is event cancellation. We are all very keenly aware of the damage that this ongoing hurricane season has brought to the Gulf Coast in Florida. Event cancellation insurance is a policy that protects revenue and expenses from an event against cancellation or postponement that is beyond the control of the event organizer, like a Category 5 hurricane, for example. I would encourage each regional to secure a cancellation policy. Again, the cost of the policy does vary in degree, but they start at right around $450. All of this information, as Natalie has eloquently stated, is in the All Chapter Leaders section of My SMPS, in particular for insurance, the Finance and Administration section of the chapter manual. We have an insurance broker who we have had a long-standing relationship. Hopefully some of you were on the insurance webinar that we had a couple of months ago to speak about these three levels of insurance. They are the Novic Group, and they are an outstanding resource for you guys as well. If you have insurance questions or need a policy quote, you can feel free to contact them directly, or you can contact myself and I will connect you with the right person. Natalie also spoke about the requirement that we have you guys provide a finance report to HQ within 4 months of the conclusion of your programs. We really just want, and Pam said, a buzzword that I love and I have written down. It's really about transparency. Michael spoke about one SMPS. It is vitally important that you guys, number one, have a budget in place ahead of your event, that you provide monthly or at minimum quarterly reports to the stakeholders, which are the participating chapters. And it's equally vital that you provide this finance report to headquarters at the conclusion of the event. In the weeks following your submission, I will reach out to the treasurers specifically to gather additional information regarding policies and procedures that you may have in place, including getting that past year's conference closed out. Additional services that we provide, we do review budgets on a regular basis. We also review contracts. Dan Rowley is our resident contract reviewer, but Tina Myers and myself also take a look at regional contracts ahead of you guys signing them. I want to wish everybody good luck, and I hope that your regional is the best one yet. This is just a brief snippet of all the things I could talk about. I would encourage you guys to reach out to me, and those that I don't hear from, I will reach out to myself very soon. Thanks. Natalie?
Great. Thanks, Antonio. We really do truly encourage you all to reach out. Reach out to me and I'll connect you with Antonio. We'll set up a call. He just walk through everything that you, your processes right now, and he might be able to recommend a best practice and just check all the boxes, make sure that you're moving forward as you should be in the interest of protecting your conference overall. So thanks, Antonio. And just want to check in with Julio. We have any questions?
Yeah, we do have a few, one that came in regarding the Chapter Leaders Forum. The question is, how much space do you need for the Chapter Leaders Forum?
Oh, sure. Great question. We typically estimate it at about 60 with what I just previously described. It's going to be, we're really up in our game. It's going to be great. Hopefully those numbers are going to go up. But 60 for 2018 is a good guesstimate. Typically, the room that we hold the Chapter Leaders Workshop in is a room that's already being used by your conference. So you certainly do not have to incur any charges, securing an extra room. We do have some AV requirements, just typical, just a laptop connection and a microphone, and that's it, usually set in rounds. But I'll be reaching out to each conference committee just to go run through a quick checklist of our needs, and hopefully you can accommodate us. And we look forward to meeting up with all the chapter leaders at your conference. Great question.
Thank you, and that's it for now.
Oh, well, great. We'll move on to succession planning. So most regionals already have a succession plan. It's really important that your regional conference committee be comprised of volunteers from each participating chapter. Now, we understand this might be a challenge, and we certainly understand some chapters struggle for volunteers overall. So I can offer an idea, perhaps consider creating a volunteer position for a chapter member to act as a regional conference planner. I mean, it's a much shorter time commitment than a full year. So you might find that you have a member of your chapter with event coordination or logistics experience who just, they just might be interested in taking on the role. Perhaps consider adding this position to your call for volunteers. This is where chapters conducting volunteer surveys is really helpful. So the direct ask out to your membership may be helpful. You might get a volunteer who might be willing to come on, work for, they have a specific timeline to assist with the regional conference. You can define the commitment details so that they know exactly what's expected. So it's just something to think about. So we really want to ensure that all chapters are sharing in the workload. A great plan, succession plan, for example, would ideally be to have a conference program chair, for example, move into the co-chair role and then serve as treasurer. And that would make the involvement a 3-year commitment. We do really feel if you're going to be in a leadership position for your regional, it really should be a 2 to 3 year position. That not only benefits your regional, but it also allows you to hone your leadership skills. It's important to have a succession plan to just not pull in new volunteers every year to start creating processes all over again. You want to have some continuity. And remember, the SMPS Southern Regional Conference has that great conference guidebook in which they note in detail all their conference processes. So check out and see what they're doing. And perhaps review that and consider creating one for your conference. That's great succession planning right there, having a guidebook specifically for your conference. And we all understand volunteer circumstances change and availability changes, so this certainly isn't set in stone, and committees sometimes just really need to be nimble and they need to restructure. So succession planning really is just that, thinking about it and planning, and that's just the best practice overall. Don't forget, you do have that My SMPS community where you can create a community specific just to your regional conference, one place, keep all your documents, start discussion lists. You'll never lose it. The advantage to that, it's unlimited storage. You'll never lose all the information that you have in there. So at this time, we want to go to your questions. What do you have for me? What do you have for us? Antonia, any questions come in?
Hi, yeah, sorry. I do have a few questions that came in. Looks like they're trickling in now. First question, it's also on the Chapter Leaders Workshop. So I understand that all conferences will have a Chapter Leaders Workshop for volunteers. Do we have to conduct a Fellows Forum?
Oh, you don't have to do anything, but a Fellows Forum is an awesome event. The regionals that I went to last year and the year before that, they're so well received. It's really up to every individual conference. If your programming team would like to include a Fellows Forum, we're happy to assist, share best practices, and we can share the formats and topics from previous conferences. It's always lovely to host a Fellows Forum, a fireside chat or something. It's great, and what a rich resource our fellows can be. So I know the forums have always been very well received, so let's chat. Reach out to me personally if you need assistance, and I'll connect you with a fellow in your region or a board member to get that ball rolling. Great idea to have a Fellows Forum.
Thanks, Nat. A few more questions here. Can I get a list of all members for a marketing e-blast?
We can provide a list, but not of all like 7,000 SMPS members. We can only provide lists to regional conferences that contain participating chapter members. So what I'm saying, for example, for this SMPS Southwest Regional Conference, their communications team can only receive a list of the members of the 4 chapters that make up the Southwest Regional. Conference communication teams can always reach out to the presidents of other chapters with a request if they, if they'll share their information. So for example, if Southwest wants to promote their regional with Southern, they could always reach out to a president in the Southern region and share the information they want to market. And then the Southern region can decide how and when they will push it out. But it would then need to come from the presidents or the leadership of those specific chapters. And then, of course, the list is to be used exclusively for marketing the conference only. So you can refer, again, to that marketing opportunities document. That is attached to this program for more information on how to get the ads. You can also get the ads in the Society's magazine and e-newsletter. It's a great question.
Thank you. And let's see, what's a healthy reserve for a regional?
Great question. Healthy reserve for a regional. Okay, keep in mind, although SMPS is a nonprofit organization, the goal is for our regionals are to make profits on their conferences. And the profits that are garnered, they're going to allow regionals to put aside startup money for subsequent conferences. And this is highly recommended on best practices from successful regionals that we've had before. Because this ensures the conference is then self-sufficient and can provide top quality programming and speakers every single year. So this reserve fund can also be used as a cushion in the event a future conference incurs a loss. So this said, we recommend a minimum reserve fund of $40,000 to $50,000. Shoot for that. Of course, regional steering committees may decide to distribute a portion of the proceeds resulting from the conference after the stable reserve is established. So I know one regional recently made a very nice donation to the foundation with some extra money that they had. We do encourage that the monies distributed to participating chapters, that those monies be used for scholarships in the form of registrations for chapter members at subsequent conferences. So it's a good goal to shoot for $40,000 to $50,000 for your financial reserves. That's a great question.
Thank you, and I think that might be it.
That's it. Well, great. Okay, well, I look forward to taking any questions that might pop into your head after you after we end this call or you review this call. Remember, this program was recorded. It's going to be made available within your My SMPS community. We're also going to post it on the YouTube volunteer training playlist. Feel free to reach out to me or Julio, any member of the staff. We're happy to assist you. Good luck with your regional conferences, and remember, we are here for you. Thank you for all that you do on behalf of the Society. Thank you. This is going to end our program. I hope you enjoy your day. Bye-bye.